stay home for the most part. So when we look at this 81% here, it's quite possible that that number is maybe more like 91% because of all of the unreported cases, or even higher. We don't know, but we're just putting that out there. So when we say 13.8% have severe hospitalization and 4.7% are critical intensive care, then again, we're just going to be aware that there are very likely a lot of unreported cases. This is an underreported disease. It's mild, as we said. The mildness is actually part of the problem in containment because so many people don't know that they have it. Because this virus is so new and not all our cases are identified, the percent of deaths is most likely artificially high. Perspective. 136 children have died of flu in 2020, and 20,000 adults have died of flu in 2020, not COVID-19. But if you watch the news, what do you hear about? So just be aware, work with the facts, pay attention to the facts so that you're walking around with real information that is relevant to you and not a societal fear matrix downloaded. Because what a fear download will do, what do we do when we get afraid?
Freak out even more.
We freak out, and what do we do?
We freeze, or we run away,
Stop breathing.
or we hit things.
Okay.
Buy toilet paper.
Lots of toilet paper. What happens in our brains is that our prefrontal cortex shuts down. And when that happens, we simply don't think as clearly and our judgment is impaired. And this is a time that it really is important to have good judgment, right? So if we aren't afraid, then our prefrontal cortex, and if we aren't angry, then our prefrontal cortex is back online, and we can look at data information clearly, and we can see information as it is. The other morning, so Kira and I started a detox this week, and on one morning I was wanting some unsweetened iced tea. This was my craving on my detox, right? Which is, by the way, not allowed on the detox. But there you go. I broke the rules. I broke the rules. I broke the rules. And I walked into the gas station. I had to get gas, so I walked into the gas station and to get my iced tea, and there was a chemical smell. It smelled like bug spray. There was a chemical smell, and I could immediately smell it. I felt it in my stomach. My tummy was a little upset, and my tongue started getting numb. And so I said something to the lady behind the counter and said, there's a bug spray smell in here. And she said, no, there's not. Because we all have these different smell receptors, and what happens when we're exposed to a smell for, over a couple of minutes?
She says, no, it's the iced tea brewing in the back.
She can't smell it. She couldn't smell it even if she had the smell receptors, and I don't know whether she did or not. So I said, here is what I am experiencing. I can smell it, I can feel it in my stomach, and my tongue has started becoming a little bit numb. And the reason that I'm mentioning this to you is I'm a little worried about you, because this can affect you, and when you're in it for a couple minutes, you can't smell it very much. This is my field of expertise, so I know what this is like. Do you know what happened next? I'll bet you do. Yeah, she went, right? Why? Why would someone shut down in the presence of knowledge of information that could help them?
There's nothing she can do about it.
Fear.
Because it tripped something in her head that went, I don't know what to do, and if this is a problem that actually exists, then I'm in danger, and I would have to do something about it, and I would have a responsibility to the other people that come into this place.
I don't want to deal with it.
That is a lot to deal with.
Overload.
And she didn't hear it on the news.
Yeah, and so, let's just honor ourselves that that's a thing that happens with us humans. If we don't know what to do, then we tend to not do something, because that could just be a whole lot to deal with over there, and I got to get to work.
Ostrich.
Yeah, I'm not ready for that yet. Okay, Kira,
10
I think
minutes is up.
that is exactly what I was about to say. How close was I?
I waited till you finished your sentence.
Okay, so hold on, I might do this one next. I want to warn you that this one tastes terrible. This is the INF Fighter, this is the antiviral, which is the golden seal. That's what tastes awful. The echinacea and the chaparral. And the way that you're gonna do it is you're gonna take the little dropper and you're gonna go. It's not gonna touch your mouth. It's not a communicable disease. And by the way, it's in alcohol. It's in 55% alcohol. So, so if that is not your thing, or if you do not feel like participating in that experiment, that is totally fine. Pass the bottle. I'm gonna give it to you first so that you don't get overlooked. INF Fighter. We have all of these things here.
INF.
Infection Fighter? Yeah.
Is
INF
that
Fighter.
the adrenal tonic or it's not
Nope.
a different thing? This is a different thing.
Yes, different thing.
I love
Adrenal tonic? Adrenal tonic tastes good. This tastes terrible.
this.
What'd you say? It tastes terrible?
It does taste
It tastes terrible. So have your water ready right afterwards. If you choose to participate in this, have your water ready right afterwards. There is another way, by the way, that you can take this. You can put it in your water.
Don't do that, because then it lasts longer.
That's the kind of person I am. I want it to be over with as quickly as possible.
And you can swish it.
Swish, swish, swish. Yeah, that's because you were using it for a tooth thing.
2 minutes. And then you wonder how I was able to do it.
I'm still impressed. I don't know that I could swish it for 2 minutes. How you doing? Oh, you're doing the thing. You're doing the
Ready
thing.
for the
Wow, everybody's
intense-
doing it. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Sounds like a song.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody took it.
Oh, yeah.
That's impressive. Okay, so we're aware that overall flu activity is a little bit higher this season.
Is that United States? That's not what, is that?
We're gonna get to the world in a minute. This is US.
Okay, that's what I.
Yeah, and this is the source for this underlying. Okay, so this is what we talked about. 60 and over are the most at risk, and especially those with pre-existing conditions, particularly heart disease. Let's do calcium lactate next. So here is the way that you do this hygienically. You take 2, you put it in the cap, and then you put it in your hand, and then you swallow those. So you do like this, and you do like this, and then you pass the bottle along.
Did we do this one yet or not yet?
Hold on to that.
That's the chewable.
Right, so we're just still holding up.
You're hanging on to that.
You're the only one that has it, so.
Oh.
Sorry.
Why is this?
Compromise the immune
Compromise,
system.
yeah.
What does that mean? Wait, we're talking about cardiovascular disease. That's the heart, not the immune system.
Well, what do you think circulates communities?
The immune system's the engine that keeps the body running. If it's compromised, you can't fight it.
What is your immune system? What are some of what comes to mind when I say immune system? Just start saying some stuff.
Spleen,
Spleen,
Liver.
liver,
Nervous system.
nervous system,
Intestine.
gut, intestines.
Now.
What about your tonsils?
Yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any. Mhm. I speak. Where is your immune system?
Everywhere.
In your gut.
It's everywhere. There is no part of you that is not your immune system. Is your skin part of your immune system?
Yes.
Why is your skin part of your immune system?
First defense. First defense.
Yep, exactly. Your skin is part of your immune system. It's the largest organ in your body, and it has antibodies on it. So your skin has its own healing microbiome. What about eating? What about something coming in through the digestive system? Is that part of the immune system?
Alimentary.
Well,
How?
it has to be absorbed through the cell walls because, quite frankly, from the mouth to the anus, it doesn't touch anything.
It's a big.
It's one great big,
It doesn't touch anything except those cells.
except those cells.
Which
Those cells
are?
absorb it.
what?
Nice.
Central squamous epithelial cells, otherwise known as pink tissue. The ones inside your mouth, your vagina, they're the most easily absorbable, and we want them to be that way because we're putting things in that we want to absorb. We have a huge part, there's parts of the immune system in your mouth, and then there's a really big one in your stomach, and that's the vat of hydrochloric acid that you dump your food into. So anything that you eat that has parasites, fungus, virus, bacteria should be dealt with by a healthy stomach. And if the stomach isn't producing enough hydrochloric acid, then there's going to be a tendency towards a weak immune system. Okay, so in this case, yes, Chuck said it at the beginning, your cardiovascular system circulates your blood, and your blood carries nutrients to every cell in your body, and it takes something away. What does it take away? What do your blood cells take away?
Toxins.
Toxins. Specifically, we breathe in
CO2.
what?
Dioxide.
CO2.
Yeah, we breathe in oxygen, and our blood takes those oxygen, take the oxygen cells to our tissues, and then we breathe out, and we breathe out CO2, and the blood cells take the CO2 away, and it is just as important that the waste be taken away as it is that we breathe it in. So these things, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, abnormally high blood pressure, cancer, these are all indications that the immune system was already out of balance beforehand. And the more severe the condition, the more out of balance it was. So the reason that these people are more at risk for death from COPD is from COVID-19 is because they were already quite out of balance to begin with. One more thing can be the thing that is the straw that breaks the camel's back. It has not to do with the fact that COVID-19 is so powerful nearly as much as it has to do with they're just really taxed. They're just really depleted to begin with. My watch regularly tells me that I've met my walking goal when I have not been walking because I talk with my hands so much.
Must be the Italian.
Yeah. I'm the Heinz 57. I got all sorts of things in me. Okay, so fatality rate varies by country, and obviously what we're seeing here is we're seeing also like China is the point of origin, right? So we have the most cases from China, so we have more deaths in China because it was there first and more people have gotten exposed to it. So it is different in different countries. Korea, Italy, Iran have this many confirmed cases. And then over here in the next column is the number of deaths. So USA is down here at the time that this graph was done, 554 and 22 deaths. So that's facts, that's information, not sensationalism. The incubation period is 14 days. So if you think you get exposed to something, you are potentially contagious for 14 days. Symptoms look like fever, coughing, and difficulty breathing, although it doesn't always need to be fever. It can lead to pneumonia and kidney failure, which is particularly problematic for the very old, the very young, and those with compromised immune systems. Exactly what we just said before. This is from the CDC, by the way. If you have mild, this is from the CDC. Stay home. So people aren't going to report it. Stay home, right? And I think that that's very good common sense advice. I don't think that you need to pay $3,500 in order to get a diagnosis to confirm that you have a not very lethal, very mild form of the flu. If you don't have a fever, you probably don't have COVID-19, and even if you have coronavirus, 80% of the cases are mild and very likely much higher than that because people are staying home and not reporting them. And if you do have severe symptoms, please call us. A little bit about how this is affecting the USA socioeconomically, because I think how we're affecting our environment is just as important as how we're affecting the internal environment, right? So at the beginning of this, I talked about organizations shutting down, conventions not taking place, colleges not going back to school, in the presence of a very mild form of the flu. So, for example, the stock market rose, 1,000 points on Monday or Tuesday because President Trump proposed a bill cutting payroll taxes for the rest of the year because of the severe economic impact. So I just want to observe what we're doing to ourselves, with our society, because we are in charge of our society. And so if we speak and we say, no, I vote that we're not going to skip our convention, I vote that I'm going to come to this meeting tonight, I vote that I am going to participate in life, and I'm going to take good precautions, and I'm going to take my terribly stinky INF fighter, or I'm going to stick with the homeopathic silver because I don't want to take this terribly stinky. I think we're ready for this one now.
I didn't get the last one. Kira forgot all about it.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Are you appropriately guilted?
What do you mean?
No.
She's immune.
She's immune.
Too
guilted.
I like that. We lose that.
So conga, this next one that's being passed around, you can either chew it or you can swallow it. Either way, it is a little bit more effective if you chew it. It's not gonna taste like a gummy. So it's not gonna be just a sugary thing, but it's not bad. And if you've been chewing Cardio Plus, then it's way better than that.
Well, I haven't been,
Oh, okay.
don't follow the rules.
Chew this one? Chew this one.
Okay, so we had this conversation. What is your immune system? It's your whole body.
I guess.
This is the one that's made of carrots, alfalfa, mushrooms, echinacea. If you are allergic to any of these things, then please don't take this.
The calcium lactate, does it already have the 5-to-1 magnesium in it?
Yes.
Or?
Yep.
Okay.
That's in the formula so that it can be properly absorbed into the body. Excellent question. Thank you. The last, under prevention, I wanted to give you an example. I wanted to show you the prevention formula, which is, so this is pneumonia prevention formula number 1. Huangqi, you may be familiar with the herb astragalus. Have you heard of this herb? Astragalus, Huangqi. Yep. And astragalus is one of the best immune support herbs that we have. And the reason for that is because astragalus tells the kidneys to release the hormone erythropoietin, and that erythropoietin goes to your bone, and it tells, especially your long bones, and it tells your bones to produce more white blood cells. So Huangqi is actually one of the anti-cancer herbs.
Is that here on this paper?
No.
What did you say it's called?
Oh, that's, it's pneumonia prevention formula number 1. The herb is astragalus, Astragalus. Yeah, like strangle, except without the N. Astragalus.
Yeah,
Okay. And also, in addition to, and this is one of the formulas. This is one of the formulas from China that's being prescribed to prevent the flu, right? So this is how we. I'm gonna take some.
Is the astragalus in any of the standard process stuff?
It is in the formula called astragalus. But it is not in any of the other things listed here. Oh man, that is so much better than
yeah, it really is.
these supplements are tremendously effective if chewed. And I have a saying in my clinic, I don't ever make my clients do anything that I won't do myself. So if someone comes in and we run their heart monitor on them, the HSR, the heart sound recorder, and we need to show them, we need to do a before and after of, okay, chew this now, and then in 30 minutes we're gonna do your HSR again, and we're gonna look at the differences because we wanna see that. I give them theirs to take, and I say, chew this, and then I chew it too, and man, you'd think that I would eventually get used to it and develop a taste for it, but
Not
Not
even when
so
you take
much.
3 times a day.
yeah. But, you know, my heart is very happy.
I'll start chewing it.
Okay, so that's the prevention formulas. I need a volunteer. Okay. Come on. front of you right now is, thank you very much for volunteering for something you have no idea what it is. You're very great, very impressed. For those of you, so what you have in front of you right now is you have a list of potential realities. You have a list of general recommendations. The way we prescribe herbs in clinic or whole food supplements or homeopathics is we vet them through your body's energy field. And we do that because everybody's energy is different. Some people really resonate with a homeopathic solution. Some people really resonate with a whole food solution, and some people really resonate with botanicals, and some people are fine with all three. My body likes them all. And so I can accept all. But in order to, but I want to show you what this looks like for those of you that are new to this experience. So what I want you to do is I want you to stick your arm out, and good. And I want you to say the word, actually we're going to switch places. And there's reason for it. I want you to say the word yes.
Yes.
Push up. Good. I want you to say the word no.
No.
Push up. Good. Now I want you to say the word yes again.
Yes.
Push up. Okay, what just happened? You can relax. Why could I easily push her arm down when she said the word no, but not when she said the word yes?
Because no is a negative on the body, negative reaction.
Yeah, because her body was saying no. Because she told her cells no, and her body said no. So we can use the body's inner guide. Every body has a strong inner knowing. We have an intuitive guide. It's the spark of the Holy Spirit in us. It's our connection with what we know to be right. It's our intuition. And we can use that intuition to find out what really is the right thing for you. So, for example, let's see. We're going to have you take this that you just took a little bit ago and stick your arm out, and I'm going to push down. I just want you to push up, push up. Okay, so she tests pretty strong for the homeopathic silver. Does she need, I need this right now? She doesn't test 100% because she just took it. So she doesn't need it right now. If she doesn't need it right now, she'll test for it. I need this tomorrow. Super strong, right? Okay, good. And everybody's energy affects each other's. I mention this because we're talking about the societal matrix that's downloaded in with this whole fear syndrome. So I want to show you something. Stick your arm. Are you willing to participate in one little energy experiment with me before I move on to the flu formulas?
Yes.
Okay. So push up. I want you to send this kind of energy. Push up. Good. I want you to send this kind of energy. Push up. That was just one finger. And I want you to send this kind of energy. Push up. And she's super strong again. Okay, so go ahead and turn around. Tell her what happened.
So when we were sending you thumbs up energy, you held your strength, and when we sent you thumbs down energy, you were weaker with one finger.
And everybody is like this until we learn how not to be. And what that means is that when we're walking around in a society and we're around people who are afraid and freaking out, even if we're pretty strong and centered and we know our stuff, then we might be tempted to freak out just because everybody else is freaking out. So be aware of that. And hold your center and hold your awareness and do your smart things to take care of yourself. And you don't have to get scared and anxious and deplete your immune system just to hang out with, the frequency of the sensationalist news. Thank you very much for volunteering for something you might not know.
How do you protect yourself from people's thoughts?
That is outside the scope of the coronavirus conversation. I'm delighted to talk to you about that. We have a full online course for you. Okay, so we talked about prevention. The next step is what to do if you do get the bug. So with the Congoplex, instead of just taking it 2-3 times a day as you would prevention, the instant that you start to feel like, I might have a little something, I'm feeling a little tired, take 2 every half hour. And do that until you start to feel normal again. Yeah, they're easy to take. They're just little tablets, right? And the cost of taking, a bottle of Congoplex is less than $20, right? Even if you took a whole bottle a day, which you wouldn't, but even if you took a whole bottle a day, that's a small price to pay for not getting sick, right? Just give your body what it needs in order to fight the bug. Pneumotrophin. This is a protomorphogen that maps directly to the lungs. Another way to say this is what tells the other nutrients to go to your lungs to support you. This is specific support for your lungs. And as you noticed in our clinical diagnoses, you noticed a lot of these are in the lung, respiratory conditions. So that's why we're supporting the lung. Immuplex, this is whole body support, and especially for antiviral, this is another whole food complex that complements Congoplex. Thymex, while this is in Congoplex, sometimes we need a little bit more, and I find that if it's in the beginning phases, then a lot of times people will test for Thymex, which is support for the thymus gland, which is part of the immune system and resides directly over your heart. A couple years ago, my uncle had this bariatric surgery. You know this? So he had this, and it changed the environment of his body. He lost a bunch of weight, but the next thing that happened was that he ended up having to have open heart surgery. And then the next thing that happened was that he had all these immune problems because the thymus gland was affected from the open heart surgery. So you see how this goes. So it's important. Cod liver oil is rich in vitamins A and D. I am a fan of the standard process version of this, but there's other good brands that are out there too. Echinacea Premium. Echinacea is a wonderful immune supporter. Broncheffect, this is for acute bronchitis. It contains pleurisy root, which is aptly named because it helps to treat the pleural lining. I love it when they call them those things. By the way, those kinds of shortcuts you just don't get when you study Chinese medicine because it's another language. The Chinese-speaking people got those shortcuts, but it was so funny. There was a day that there's a formula called Jersalsan, and our teacher was so upset with us because we got Jersalsan. You know, a lot of people got Jersalsan wrong on the exam, and he's like, "It's called stop cough formula. How can you get this wrong?" And we're like, "We don't speak Chinese. We tell people that that's what it says." But you know, fortunately, pleurisy root. Okay, Resco is for chronic bronchitis, especially with a hard cough and soreness. Sinus Forte, this is for sinus infections and especially chronic. I find this is also an adrenal support supplement, and I find that it's one of my favorite adrenal supports, like for me personally. Andrographis, okay, so this is an antiviral, but I want to draw attention here to the difference between antiviral, antibacterial, and wind cold, wind heat invasion, right? So my lady that came in earlier that had a temperature of 96.6, what is her temperature? Is it hot or is it cold? Cold. Does she need the clear heat herbs or does she need the warming herbs?
Warming.
She needs the warming herbs. So for her, this, not a good choice because these clear heat. And in fact, she had been taking this because it was on her program from before, but since that time she had gotten exposed to the wind cold virus. So if you get cold, don't take INF fighter because it's energetically clears the heat. If you have fever, take INF fighter. And it's fine to take every day unless you get wind cold invasion. So Andrographis, this is for if you get cold, if you get a cold, if you are cold. I'm saying it over and over because it's a little bit of a different way than we're used to thinking about things, but it's very straightforward. It's so straightforward that we can really miss the beauty and the simplicity of the temperature of the herbs. In fact, like the temperature of the herb, the temperature of food, it really doesn't exist in our culture in America. So I'm saying it over and over because you're not hearing it any other place.
Is that something you can take if you just are cold all the time?
That is a different thing.
Okay.
That is most likely an endocrine disorder. And most likely not, and there's chronic pathogens involved with that, but there's more to that conversation. And I would be doing you a disservice if I said, take Andrographis and everything will be fine. The appropriate Chinese herbal pneumonia formula. So these are some of the These are well, anyway, okay, so these are the names of the formulas, so not the individual herbs, but Guggen Tong has Guggen in it, and Guggen is kudzu. If you know kudzu, it's particularly good for this area around the neck. So if you have the presentation of like, it just kind of hurts, it's tight, a lot of people come to me and they don't know that they have a bug. And I go through my questions and I have my method and I make sure that I do my due diligence with every single person. And many times, many times, we prevent them from getting the symptoms of having their bug. They'll come in with muscle tension tightness thinking that they are just sore from being at the computer. It's actually that they have an early stage wind cold invading the interior. So that's again. Toxic heat attacking the lung with yin chao san. Yin chao san is one of the most famous Chinese herbal formulas, most popular Chinese herbal formulas. You can get that one at Whole Foods if you don't get it through us. It is a clear heat and a clear toxic heat formula. So when do you not want to take yin chao san?
When you're cold.
Yes. If you are cold, if you just feel like crawling under the covers, if you want to have ginger tea, if you just want a warm bath, don't take yin chao san, it will make it worse. I want to emphasize to you the importance of accurate diagnosis because I've spent over a decade of my life dedicated to the practice of this, and it's not easy. I mean, like just last year, over the last few years, I do advanced study in herbalism all the time because the accurate diagnosis is truly an art. Damp cold in the lungs, we talked about that. There's not a name for that formula. It's specifically created for this particular presentation. So the Xiaoyang syndrome with the dampness, that is the alternating chills and fever. The damp heat affecting the lungs, so that's when we're hot and we're phlegmy. Why would somebody, if two people have coronavirus, why would one person get toxic heat attacking the lung and one person get wind cold invading the interior?
One is because of a compromised immune system, and you're more likely to get toxic heat, maybe?
But the wind cold isn't a compromised immune system?
Well, I'm just saying, like, are you asking whether that would indicate whether the result of coronavirus, the recipient would either have a mild case or a severe case?
It's not mild or severe.
Oh, okay.
And let me use a different example. So what about wind cold versus damp heat?
It's a different underlying condition.
It's a different underlying condition. Well, it's the same virus, it's the same organism, it's the same bug. Why would one person get wind cold and one person gets damp heat?
The constitution.
Yes, exactly, their constitution. So this has to do with everything that has happened in your life up until this moment. This has to do with the genes, this has to do with your parents, this has to do with the climate that you grew up in and the climate that you live now. This has to do with the way that you eat, the energetics of the foods that you eat. This has to do with how much stress you're under and how much alcohol you drink. And those words are not judgment. They're simply the recipe of what has gone into you so far. So one person might have a tendency to get hot, and one person might have a tendency to get cold. And the person who has a tendency to get cold is most likely going to get a wind cold invasion, or it's going to quickly turn into a cold invasion because they're already cold. They know how to do cold. They're really good at cold, so they're going to make it into a cold because they got the cold thing down, right? Whereas the person who's really good at hot is going to turn it into a hot thing because they've got a predisposition towards it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not about the pathogen, it's about the person. It's not about the pathogen, it's about the person. It's not about the pathogen, it's about the person. Chinese medicine has long had the solution for the common cold. The solution is it's not common. It's different in every person. How it shows up and how it presents in each different person is the key to the correct and accurate treatment of the disease. and that's the R. Okay, so other Chinese names, other Chinese words that are only really relevant to you if you know Chinese medicine. What I want you to know, what I really want you to take away from this is that correct and accurate treatment is absolutely available to you. You need to work with a license, you need to work with an excellent practitioner in order to get that correct and accurate diagnosis. It's absolutely available. Prevention, that's easy. You can do that, you have ready access to that. If you get sick, then don't let it get very far, because this is a time when there is more flu. We have more flu seasons going on. And regardless, who wants to be sick for very long? No matter what's going on in the world, I want to be healthier faster. And so the instant that I start to feeling, and I was in a convention last weekend with all sorts of people. We had more than 50 people in the room from all over the country, all over the globe. I see people every single day in my clinic, right? I don't want to lose a second of my life, not because I'm adverse to like taking time off, but when I take my time off, I want to enjoy it with delight. I want to get the most out of my free time. I don't want to have to spend my Christmas break sick, because that's not getting the most out of life for me. Okay, so we talked about this. Black Death and Spanish Plague, this is not. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Yep. So, the Chinese don't tend to have these kinds of epidemics. They have
Solutions.
They have treatment of them, yeah. Okay, that is the end of the presentation tonight. What questions do you have? I usually ask this question at the beginning, what would you like to get out of our time together this evening, but since we had this stated, it's about the coronavirus, I didn't do that. Show of hands, how many of you feel that this answered the questions that you have and that this was a worthy investment of your time? You don't have to feel obligated though. Okay, good. If you would like to know more about upcoming classes that we have, because we have classes here at least once a week and sometimes twice, and our goal is to provide education to our community so that we can each make better and better decisions, because the more we know, the better decisions that we make. So we have flyers up for all of our upcoming presentations. Chuck's next presentation is on
April 2nd.
Thank you, dear. And all of this information is also on the front page of our website, so you can easily see all the information that's coming up for us. And if you want to get any of these things, I don't usually do this, but we're in a little bit different time and place. If you want to get any of these things, then you can get them from Kira tonight. Usually I say, come see me in clinic and we have to do this thing, but this is a thing. Hey, Kira.
Let's give Dr. Cynthia a round.
Yay!